So the current news is regarding the bad bank which has been established by government of India. Now the provision of this bad bank has been done in the budget of 21-22. Understood? Now we will understand the whole concept of the bad bank. So let us understand first the banking business in brief. So how the banking business work? This is a person one. He will deposit his money in bank account. On this deposited money, the bank will give some interest to it. Now this person has deposited some money and that will act as the liability to this bank. और वो person का क्या हुआ? Asset. Now this bank will give or forward some loan to big investors. Now this loan that has been forwarded by the bank to the investors, कौन सी money थी ये? The same money which has been provided by the person to the bank. Now this loan will act as the asset for the bank and it will act as a liability of the investor. Understood? So this is how the banking business works, and bank will try to optimize the difference between these two earnings. ठीक है, यहाँ बैंक को प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट भी वापस देनी है एंड इट हैज़ टू गिव इंटरेस्ट एनुअली या सेमी एनुअली जो भी है. सो ये आ जाता है हमारे पास ट्रांजैक्शन वन. एंड ऑन द अदर साइड the banks has to recover their loans, this asset, as well as the interest which has been paid by the investors. Understood? So this is T2. So at the time when T2 is greater than T1, the banking business will run swiftly. Understood? It means the bank has the decision making capability that all the loans, all the assets which it is forwarding to the investors, they are not going to be the stressed assets. What are the stressed assets? We will be dwelling in our further course. But these banks are making sure that the loans that they are giving to the investors is not turning into the stressed asset, and they are having their principal as well as interest back on the time. So T2 is that transaction, and the loan, the principal amount and the interest which the bank has to give to the persons or individuals back, it is T1. So whenever T2 is greater than T1, the banking business will run swiftly. Now the problem occurs when this T2 ये equal to या T1 is greater than T2. अब क्या होगा? Now the banks has to take out some share of their own profit to give the depositors their money back. तो यहाँ से आ जाती है सारी दिक्कतें स्टार्ट, and this is what is happening in the Indian banking system. Now the NPAs of the Indian banking system has touched 8 to 9% of their gross non-performing assets. ठीक है, ये परसेंटेज है. So 8 to 9% of the GNPA has been reached. ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है. So now actually we have private players of this bad bank in our Indian banking system, but their net worth is so small that they can't handle these large amount of bad assets in our Indian economy. That's why India's own first bad bank has been launched in our country. Understood? So this was the news. Now what are stressed assets? ये देख लेते हैं पहले. So there are three types of stressed assets. NPAs, the assets of the bank, the loans, advances of the bank which will not come back. Why? Because this investor is running a company and that company has incurred huge amount of loss. So as this investor is not in a position to give the loan back to the bank, hence it will turn into a NPA. The general definition of NPA is if the investor is unable to pay its due back in 90 days. 90 days तक अगर आपने अपना ड्यू प्रिंसिपल इंटरेस्ट कुछ भी पे नहीं किया, so banks will consider it as NPA. Understood? The second is, let's see, restructured loans. See, again the bank has given some loans and advances to the investor. Now this investor's company has incurred some minimal losses. Understood? So bank has given 10 crore to this investor, and now after the incursion of loss with this investor's company, the investor is in position to pay only 70 crore rupees back. कैसे भी, चाहे उसकी कंपनी बेच दो, चाहे उसके असेट्स बेच दो, the investor can only pay back 70 crore rupees. Understood? But the investor is also saying that please bank, give me some concession, give me some more time, extend my loan giving back time, as well as please reduce some of the interest on your bank loan. Then I am very much optimistic that I will repay your 20 crore back in the given time. Understood? So banks will say, okay, we are getting 70 crore from this, but if we do some modification in our present loan and make it a new loan, how? By reducing some of the interest, by extending the time period of giving back the loan. So these modifications to the existing loans will come under restructured loans. Understood? And the third one is write-off. See, these NPAs are there in the bank's balance sheet. Now if an investor wants to invest in bank, स्पॉन्सर कोई भी अगर बैंक में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहता है, सो ही विल सी द बैलेंस शीट ऑफ द बैंक. नाउ दीज एनपीएज आर इन द असेट कैटेगरी ऑफ द बैलेंस शीट. है तो असेट्स ही, नॉन परफॉर्मिंग है वो बाद में देखेंगे, है ना. सो द इन्वेस्टर्स विल बी इन डायलेमा और they will be misguided that this bank's balance sheet is very good if he doesn't, or if he can't able to see the NPAs. So what banks do, they will, this NPAs say 10 crore, so they will assume that this 10 crore is not giving us back any income. Understood? Although दिस इन्वेस्टर, इसी को यही एग्जांपल से समझ लीजिए, दिस इन्वेस्टर हैज द लायबिलिटी टू पे दिस 10 crore बैक, बट टू ऑप्टिमाइज, टू मेक द बैलेंस शीट मोर रिफ्लेक्टिव, बैंक्स विल अज्यूम दिस 10 crore लोन एज द एब्सोल्यूट एनपीए एंड टर्न इट्स वैल्यू टू 0. इसका मतलब ये 10 crore रुपए वापस कभी नहीं आने. But it is not reflecting that the investor is not liable to pay 10 crore. No, it is still the liability of investor to pay 10 crore. This phenomena only occurs in the balance sheet of the banks. So this is nothing called but write-off. Now the investor is in good position to judge the balance sheet of any bank. So these three constitutes our stressed assets. Now the problems of these things in the Indian banking system is two folds. What are these? First is the banks, if their NPAs are high, their non-performing assets are high, they will defer their advances of loans. पहले ही आपका इतना NPA है, if you keep on giving more advances and more loans, you will come under the prompt corrective action plan of RBI, PCA framework. इसके अंडर आप आ जाओगे तो दिक्कत हो जाएगी, है ना. सो दे विल डिफर देयर क्रेडिट एंड लोन्स. सो मनी सप्लाई इकोनॉमी में कम हो जाएगा, कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन इकोनॉमी में कम हो जाएगा. द सेकेंड इज this recovery of loans and NPAs is very cumbersome process, very time consuming. So the high management of all the banks, if they contribute their time for this restructuring of loans and solving the NPAs problem, so who will care about the investments or loans or credit worthiness of the investors to which we are giving some loans? So to resolve these problems, the solution is asset reconstruction company. As I have told you before, there are some private players already in the field of this reconstruction companies, but now government has launched first India's band bank. Understood? So 51% of the share of this India's bad bank, what is its name? National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. So this is the name of the bad bank. Now 51% of the ownership of this bad bank will be held by the PSBs, public sector banks, and the rest I think will be given to the some private players. Understood? Now see the functioning of this bank. Now the banks have some NPAs, all the PSBs have some NPAs. I think 2 lakh crore of rupees will get restructured in this kind of bad bank. ठीक है, तो ये फेज वाइज में ये 2 लाख करोड़ रुपीस जाएंगे बैड बैंक के पास. Now banks will transfer their NPAs to this National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. In lieu of that, this company, this bad bank will give back 15% of the net value of this asset in cash, only 15% ही. Understood? And the rest 85% the bad bank will give it to the bank as a security receipts. ठीक है, as are security receipts. Now these security receipts are tradable in nature. इसका मतलब these are kind of assets to the bank and banks can further trade these security receipts in the market. Understood? But why will bank give its confidence or put their confidence faith in these security receipts that is given by a company that is bad bank? Because these security receipts has been guaranteed by the government of India. Government of India is saying that dear banks, please accept this tradable security receipts. And if the bad bank is unable to repay your this 85% of the cash, then we will come into picture. We have inscribed some lump sum amount of cash with this bad bank. और अगर आपका कैश वापस नहीं दिया इस बैड बैंक ने by selling your assets, by selling your NPAs, then these sanctioned lump sum amount of money will come into effect, and from that fund we will give your 85% back. So you know, the government of India is the guarantor of these security receipts. That's why banks will accept this tradable security receipts. Now the NPAs have been transferred to our own bad bank, National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. Now ये बस एक तरह से फंड है, यहाँ आपके पास रुपए आ चुके हैं. Now the asset manager to these incoming NPAs, non-performing assets, will be India Debt Resolution Company Limited, which is another company recognized under Companies Act of 2013. Now this is the asset manager of this bad bank. Understood? So kind of these both companies will act as the bad bank of India. Understood? Now bad banks can opt for two things. First, they will purchase the rights or interest of a particular debt. Understood? अगर मैं आपको हिंदी में आसान शब्दों में बताऊं, ये वसूली का काम करता है बैड बैंक. अंडरस्टूड? वसूली आपको पता है ना, पनवेल निकलना है. सो ये सब वसूली का काम करते हैं. अंडरस्टूड? सो या तो आप उनसे इंटरेस्ट खरीद लो या राइट खरीद लो, या तो एक और चीज़ आप कर सकते हो, आप इनसे सीधा पूरा डेट ही खरीद लो. तो हम यहाँ क्या बोल रहे हैं? द बैंक्स आर गिविंग और सेलिंग देयर डेट. मतलब आपको हमने सब पूरा लोन ही सौंप दिया है, ये जो हमारा एनपीएज है. नाउ इट इज़ योर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. बैंक्स आर सेइंग नाउ बैड बैंक, इट इज़ योर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दैट यू विल कलेक्ट बैक द ओरिजिनल प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट एज वेल एज इंटरेस्ट फ्रॉम अ पर्टिकुलर इन्वेस्टर. हमारी सरदर्दी खत्म, आप हमें रुपए दे दो, चाहे वो नेट मार्केट वैल्यू से कम ही हो. अंडरस्टूड? मान लीजिए बैंक्स का नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट है 10 करोड़, बट इट इज लेस प्रोबेबल दैट ऑल द 10 करोड़ विल बी रिकवर्ड बाय द बैड बैंक. सो बैड बैंक विल से प्लीज बैंक्स टेक दिस 7 करोड़ फ्रॉम मी, और उसके बाद लोन मेरा है. अब उससे मैं चाहे 8 करोड़ वसूल लूँ, चाहे 9 करोड़ वसूल लूँ, चाहे 5 करोड़ वसूल लूँ, इट इज़ नॉट योर सरदर्द. Understood? So asset reconstruction company can purchase the right or interest or the whole debt from a bank. Understood? ना मैंने आपको पूरी न्यूज़ बता दी है जो अभी घूम रही है. नाउ देर इज़ पर्टिकुलर कमिटी, रघुराम राजन कमिटी, द प्रीवियस गवर्नर ऑफ आरबीआई. इन्होंने बोला था कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, आई विल नॉट रिकमेंड यू टू establish a particular unique bad bank because we have certain provisions in our Indian banking system already. If we establish this provision in more efficient manner, then there is no need of this bad bank. What are these provisions? INBC code, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, SARFAESI Act, and Debt Recovery Tribunals. So if you strengthen these already established institutions, then we don't have to add another layer in our Indian banking system, that is bad bank. Now, does this particular bad bank phenomena has been already applied in other countries? Yes, large countries like USA already has these bad banks. As I have told you, in India also there are various private players in the field of this bad bank. Now there is another question here in the kind of these things, on the kind of these lines, that which of the banking sector has maximum NPAs. So you know, public sector banks constitutes maximum NPAs, and then comes private player. Because in one of the previous year questions of IAS exam, the question is like this कि priority sector lending की contribution, which among the following banks has highest contribution in priority sector lending. So उसका भी आंसर क्या था? PSBs, because their size is so enormous, no? That's why. And PSB में भी सबसे high contribution है SBI का of having NPAs. Then comes PNB. So I think आपका पूरा bad bank का जो ये न्यूज़ थी कवर हो चुकी है. If you are liking this video, please give it a like, share it with your friends and subscribe to our YouTube channel. तब तक ले goodbye, जय हिंद.